Hey everybody. I'm pretty sure most of you know this game, but just in case anybody doesn't quite understand the huge leap that the game I'm about to play was, this is obviously King's Quest IV, as you can clearly see in the title there. This was one nice thing. I actually like, for some reason, when games have the title there constantly displayed. It's kind of silly because you probably know what game you're playing, but for some reason just find it kind of nice when there's like a status display that says, hey, you're playing King's Quest IV, just in case you thought you were playing Lemmings or something like that. Anyway, yeah, so this is obviously King's Quest IV. Now, when it came out, King's Quest IV was a significant advance in many ways. It was, I believe, the biggest computer game ever released in terms of byte size. It was a few megabytes, which is not much today, but back when it came out in I think 1989, I want to say. Oh, 88 even. Okay. In 1988, wow. It was the biggest game in terms of byte count that had ever been made for the PC. So, you know, okay, that in itself is not an achievement necessarily. You can make a big game that in itself doesn't mean the game is good. I guess the big advancement over the previous games was mainly, well, in terms of audio, this game has ad-lib support, and I think it did MT32 as well, if I am not mistaken. But graphically, the graphics are a little bit higher res. It's hard to tell, like it doesn't stand out that much to me, but if you look at these pixels here, for example, these darker pixels on the beach, you can see they are basically relatively square, whereas AGI, the original AGI interpreter, which Sierra used for King's Quest 1 through 3, had kind of double wide pixels. If you see a screenshot from this game, you'll see what I mean. It's a little bit hard to describe, but basically, you couldn't make a square pixel. You had to have kind of like these here. See these red things here, which I guess are flowers? That was basically the smallest pixel you could have in King's Quest 1 through 3. So the graphical advance in this game was, it wasn't vertically higher resolution, but it was horizontally higher resolution, which again, it doesn't really stand out that much to me. I mean, I guess it's nice, but still, in terms of the whole graphical quality and graphical acuity of this game, I still consider it not much different from King's Quest 1 through 3. But this is not the game that we're playing today. For various reasons, I'm not going to play King's Quest 4 today. Instead, ladies and gentlemen, let's play King's Quest 5. At this point, the people who played this game for the first time back in I think 1990, I think was when this game came out. When people played this game for the first time, they were already creaming their pants at this point. Yeah, if you don't answer that question right after a few seconds, it shows you the intro. That's fine. Let's watch the intro. Castle Daventry. This was my wallpaper on my first mobile phone, by the way. So yeah, at this point we're not quite sure what happened, but we'll find out soon. And here's Graham. It's good old King Graham, known and loved from previous King's Quest games. And look, he's picking flowers. This really, I don't think that I can really describe. If you weren't there at the time, it's really difficult to describe the huge leap in graphic quality that this represents. The resolution is the same as King's Quest IV, but the color palette jumped from 16 colors. My castle, what has happened? It jumped from 16 to 256 colors. That is a huge increase in color depth, and that accounts for what you're seeing. These are, I can tell you what happened. What? I know what happened to your castle. I saw it all, yes I did. You did? Well then, what happened? It was the powerful and evil wizard Mordak who did it. I just happened to be visiting with an old friend when I saw him materialize out of thin air. Thank goodness he didn't notice me. Don't stop now. Go on. He conjured up a terrible whirlwind that swirled faster and faster around the castle. With another incantation, Mordak then caused the wind to draw the castle up into the sky and out of sight. Oh, it was something to see, all right. Why? Why would this wizard, Mordak, want my castle? What could he have against me and my family? That I don't know. I only know that it was Mordak who took your castle and your family. Perhaps I can help you. My employer also happens to be a wizard, which is why I recognized Mordak. Unlike Mordak, though, my employer is a very good wizard. Here I believe he means good in terms of moral and ethical goodness rather than quality. His name is Whoa! I have no idea why they put that in the game. That serves no... The fact that he falls down like that serves no purpose. It's just comic relief, I guess. Anyway, where was I? Oh, yes. The only problem is that Crispin is getting on in years and tends to be a bit forgetful. I don't know. This doesn't sound as if it would work. Graham has a healthy skepticism. Oh, sure it would. Crispin is a very qualified wizard, one of the best. He just gets a little forgetful now and again, that's all. Which sounds like it could be dangerous when you're a wizard. Now, where is it? I know I brought it with me. Aha! Here it is. What is that? Well, it is my opinion that you don't stand a chance against the likes of Mordak. Excuse me for saying, Your Majesty, but you don't have a choice. You must come with me. I'm sure Crispin can help you. I also like how owls have hands. Like hands that can grasp things with opposed thumbs and everything. What is that stuff? Oh, just some old leftover fairy dust I've been carrying around. It'll help you to fly. You can follow me to the land of Serenia where Crispin and I live. It's much too far to walk, you know. I think the fairy dust is still good. Come on, up here. Whee! Follow me. I like how Graham's, you can actually see, like, he started off very awkward, but you can see he's sort of getting better here, like he's learning to fly. He actually looks less awkward as the cutscenes go by. There it is, down here. Come on. Okay, here I come. Whoa! Splash. Looks like the fairy dust just wore off.
Cedric, where have you been? I've been calling for you.
Points.
Well, well, what have we here? A bit clumsy, are you? Well, come on in the house and dry off. No sense sitting around like a wet dog. Cedric, go on in the house and pour each of us a nice hot cup of tea.
Aye, aye, Crispin. Whoosh. Stomp, stomp. Squelch, squelch. And considering those boots that Graham is wearing, you'd think he'd have to take the boots off and dump the water out of them. But this is not a realistic simulation of surviving in the forest.
The Society of Wizards has always taken a dim view of Mordak and his abuse of his power. Why he's even been put on suspension a few times. It never seems to do any good, though.
Crispin, why would Mordak want to take my family or castle? What did we ever do to him?
I'm afraid I don't know the answer to that. Mordak is a very unpredictable wizard. I've never understood that evil mind of his.
I thought perhaps you could help His Majesty, Crispin. That's why I brought him here.
Well, let me see now. I used to be a very powerful wizard at one time, you know, but I've gotten a little rusty lately.
Stroke, stroke, stroke. Huh, a little rusty.
That's quite enough from you, Cedric.
Yes, sir, Crispin, sir.
I don't know what I have that would be of much use to you. Most of my wizard stuff is pretty old and worn out, but let's see what I can find.
Oh, this was the best. I think somebody made a video out of this. This is like the most exciting walk in video game history, just the way he sort of slowly staggers.
No, that won't do. That's all used up. It might work. Here, eat this.
What is that? Always a good idea to eat it first and then ask what it is.
That's an old piece of magical white snake I had left over from last year. With it, you'll be able to communicate with the natural and animal world. You could find that quite helpful.
So you don't have to put the dough in your ears like you did in King's Quest III. Shake.
Here's my old wand. I don't even know if it works anymore. Most of its power may be gone. You should know that wands are like pets. They've got to get to know you before they'll work for you. Just treat it with care and respect, and hopefully it will do something for you. You'd better get going, my boy. No telling what that confounded Mordak could be up to. You go with him, Cedric. Show him the way.
Me?
Yes, you. Don't be such a coward. Now go on. You better get started.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate all you've done for me. And so it begins. I suggest we visit the town first. How about it, Your Majesty? Please don't call me Your Majesty, Cedric. It's much too formal. I'd like it if you'd just call me Graham. I'd be delighted to, Graham. Anyway, what was I talking about? Oh yes, the town. You might be able to find some supplies there. It's just over a little hill to the south, not too far. Well then, let's get going, Cedric. And so it begins. This is King's Quest V. Welcome to one of the most, I think, breakthrough revolutionary titles of PC gaming history for a few different reasons. This game, hold on, what's the, let's see, where do I get the credits, or can I get the credits? Here we go, about, yeah, 1990. So this game kicked off the 1990s, which was, of course, the best decade for everything. It was the best decade for computer games. It was the best decade for music. It was the best decade for quite a lot of things, actually. Economically, it was the best decade for the economy as well. So this game kind of brought gaming into the 90s. And, you know, again, if you compare the graphics that we saw in King's Quest IV with what we're seeing now, the difference is just it really is night and day. Like I said, the difference between King's Quest 3 and King's Quest 4 was a slight resolution improvement. And, that might be noticeable. Okay, yeah, the King's Quest 4 graphics were a little bit more detailed, but it wasn't revolutionary in my opinion. But the leap from 16 colors to 256 colors, this was really what brought PC gaming, I think, into its own. What really made PC gaming able to compete with the Amiga and machines like that, which had previously been kind of much more technically advanced than the PC in terms of gaming. And King's Quest 4 already had ad-lib sound, but this game makes much better use of it. For example, notice the bird chirping sound. Like, I don't know if you can. I hope it's loud enough that you can hear it fairly clearly. That really just the whole setup here really blew me away. The first time I experienced it, I was like, wow. You can hear birds chirping. The graphics approach photorealism. Now, you probably wouldn't confuse this with a photograph. Maybe if you looked at it very briefly, like if you just kind of glanced at it, if you glanced at it askance glance. If you just sort of looked at it briefly and didn't look carefully, you might think maybe it's an old photograph, or maybe it's like a not very clear photograph. But it's, at least I would say, it's approaching photorealism in contrast to the graphics of King's Quest IV, which just didn't have enough colors. It still looked very cartoony. It still looked very primitive. The resolution here is the same as in King's Quest IV. It's I think it's 320 by 200. So, it's not a super high resolution, but that color depth, that increased color depth makes a world of difference. It makes all the difference. Anyway, so a few things. Yeah, this is obviously not the voiced version of the game. I am not going to play the voiced version of the game. People usually complain when I do my own voices instead of playing voice-acted versions of games that had voice acting, but I think in this case people will probably appreciate it. Not only because of Cedric, but also because the voice acting in this game in general wasn't very good. At this point in time, voice acting in games was still very new, and Sierra didn't get professional actors. Later on, games would tend to be voiced by, professional actors, but at this stage of the game, most of the voice actors in the CD-ROM talkie version of King's Quest V were actually just Sierra employees, just people in the office who did, stepped up to do some voice acting for the game, and they weren't professional voice actors, obviously, so, The exception is the guy whom they got to play King Graham. Josh Mandel voiced King Graham in the CD-ROM talkie version of this game, and it just so happened that Josh Mandel had been a theater actor before he got into computer games. He had had a career as a... Come on, Graham, there's nothing here. Let's go. Yeah, I'm taking my time, Cedric. Be patient. I wonder if I can run out of time if I just sit here and talk for half an hour. Is the game gonna punish me somehow? Is the game gonna end because I wasted too much time? I don't know. Anyway, so Josh Mandel just happened to have been a professional theater actor, and so he was the guy who voiced King Graham. And I'm going to try to imitate his voice a little bit. I don't know if I'm doing a very good job, but I'll try to sort of imitate the sound of his voice when I'm voicing Graham. They also got him back for the remakes. If you play the remakes of King's Quests 1, 2, and 3, they actually got Graham to do or they got Josh Mandel to voice Graham for those fan-based remakes, which is pretty cool because those are unpaid. Like, he did it totally unpaid because those games are free. There was no business model for them. They were just fan games, but he stepped up and did the voice acting, which is pretty cool. And yeah, this guy. For those of you who've never heard it, Cedric the Owl was voiced in really... the voice acting for Cedric is just a travesty, and that's why most people don't like Cedric. A lot of people dislike Cedric because they heard the voice acting, and the voice acting, again, if you've never heard it, he talks like this the whole time. He just has a voice like this. And it's so annoying. So I always said, if I'm ever going to Let's Play this game, one thing I want to do is show that Cedric is not annoying. He's just a normal character. The only reason when people think Cedric is annoying is because of the stupid way that he was voice acted. So I'm just going to voice him totally normally. I'm going to do Cedric in my normal voice, and you'll see that Cedric is fairly normal. I think probably the other reasons why people don't like Cedric is that he's a little bit cowardly. But I mean, come on, Graham is going to do some things which are basically suicidal in this game. And honestly, if I put myself in Cedric's shoes, I would also say, man, if you want to like walk in a death, Graham, um, I'm not going to stop you, but don't expect me to come with you. Like, I would do the same thing if I was in Cedric's situation. So we'll see several situations where Cedric says, I'm not following you in there, sorry, I'm staying here. But I think that's totally prudent of him to do. So, that's all I have to say about the voice acting. Let me briefly introduce the interface because this was also Sierra's first game that had the point and click interface, and it's mostly familiar, but there are a few things that are different. One thing that's different is there are two walk icons. What's the difference? Well, this was actually called the walk icon, and what this does is it doesn't avoid obstacles. So if I want to walk here, I have to click in straight lines. Graham is just going to go straight for for where the walk cursor is, and he will not avoid obstacles. This cursor is called the travel cursor, and the difference is it automatically walks around obstacles. So if I click here, the game automatically pathfinds and brings Graham to that point without me having to, move him in a series of straight lines. Why would you want to use this cursor? Well, you wouldn't. Sierra, I guess, thought it was a good idea because this was their first point and click game, and thought maybe it would be useful to have people be able to walk in a straight line somewhere. But nobody used it, and they said, yeah, actually, it's kind of a lame feature. Nobody uses it. There's no point to it, so they just removed it for later games. Later point and click adventure games from Sierra always had auto obstacle avoidance, auto pathfinding. The look, action, and talk cursors are exactly the same as they are in later Sierra Adventures. They're very familiar to people who've played later Sierra Adventures. Also, the inventory, and this shows your last inventory item. I don't have one right now, but this will show your last selected inventory item. This is all fairly familiar from later Sierra Adventures. These here are a little bit... So these were all later combined into one thing. So if you click on the slider here, all you have are Graham's walk speed, the sound volume, and the game details. I'm going to crank up to normal. I like how the maximum setting is normal. I don't think it even makes much difference. I don't think that it actually much affects the speed of the game or the so-called detail of the game. I think it just turns ambient animations on and off, but there's not that much ambient animation anyhow. So yeah, so that's all you get here. Later versions of the game would combine these two icons into that one control panel. So if you click on the disk, this is just where you save and load your game or restore your game, and then stop allows you to restart the game or quit the game. But yeah, later Sierra Adventures would just have this slider here, and then in addition to these sliders, you'd have on the left-hand side, you'd have the option to save and restore, restart, and quit. And also here this question mark where you can get the version number and release year. What does help say? Yeah, so this is basic. I mean, this was more important, I guess, upon this game's release because this was Sierra's first point-and-click adventure. So it's kind of, yeah, I mean, this is all fairly, yeah, exactly. So here's walk and here's travel. So yeah, everything else I think is not very surprising. All this is fairly familiar, fairly intuitive. Like it's not rocket science. Okay, that's it. So I think I've introduced the game fairly sufficiently. And let's just leave it at that for now. We're already getting up to 24 minutes, so rather than drag this out longer than it needs to be, let's go ahead and just stop there. So this has been the beginning of King's Quest V. Yeah, I just decided to play this because I think that this is probably the single game that my viewers would probably most like me to play at some point. So I thought, yeah, why not? I mean, new year, new Let's Play. Let's give the folks what they want. Let's actually play King's Quest V because it's a good game. I think it's overdone. I think it's just a little too popular. I'm just too much of a hipster to just keep playing the hits. But I do love this game. It is a great game. Don't get me wrong. I have nothing against this game. I have nothing but good words for this game. The only thing I dislike about the game is how they voice Cedric in the CD-ROM version. It was really disappointing actually for me. I think I mentioned this during my recent stream. I first played the floppy version of this game and I loved it. I couldn't say anything bad about it. A few years later, I got the CD-ROM version, the talkie version, and I was so excited. And I said, wow, finally be able to hear the voice acting in this game. This is going to be so cool. And then I heard it and I said, you know what? I am disappointed. The quality of the voice acting, yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's not just Cedric. I mean, Cedric's voice acting is atrocious, but it's not just that. The overall audio quality on the CD release of this game just wasn't very good anyhow. And the voice acting itself, like the acting itself wasn't good, probably again because, they didn't get real actors. They just got people from the office who just happened to be around and said, hey, you want to voice act the game? Yeah, sure, I'll say a few lines. So it just overall, at best, the voice acting was okay in my opinion. Some of the voice acting was not bad. Some of it was just really terrible. Like besides Cedric, there was also the bees and the ants, like the way that they were voiced. That's just like, come on, man, really. So I prefer this floppy version of the game, which doesn't have the voices, where you just read the text. This is definitely what I prefer for this game. It is what I prefer for most games. For me, I generally prefer to read something than to hear something. But I realize that most people have the opposite preference and would like to hear some voice acting. So anyway, yeah. So I will leave it at that, and next time we will actually play the game and explore and do some crazy fun stuff in the world of King's Quest V. Thanks for watching, everyone. I will talk to you all next time. Bye-bye for now.